On November 7th, 2017, President Muhammadu Buhari laid a budget proposal with a size of 8.612 trillion naira before the legislature for 2018, with an increase of 1.7 trillion from the 7.44 trillion naira appropriated in 2017. So he also banned, fresh recruitment, said, by all federal, yes, except by presidential approval. So how can we achieve full budget implementation in Nigeria? We have in the studio this morning Mr. Johnson Chukwu, the chairman, Cowrie Asset Management. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
And in our Abuja studio, we have a development economist, Mr. Odilim Enwegbara.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, since I'm with you, let's quickly look at, before we look at the budget proposal for 2018, let's quickly look at how we fared in 2017.
Are you asking me?
Yes, please. I'm with you now in Abuja.
Okay. What you should know is that by end of September, I think the Minister of Finance made it clear publicly that they would stop financing the capital portion of the budget. And that was not surprising because they didn't have the revenue to continue to finance the capital portion of the budget. As a result, what we have had up to today is about 480 billion naira spent, which represents about 21% of the capital budget that is supposed to be spent, which is 30% of the whole budget. So as far as I'm concerned, I think at the end of the day, we are not doing the right thing because every modern economy invests a lot in its infrastructure. South African budget is over $150 billion, and over 70% of that money is a capital portion of the budget. So I'm seriously concerned because how do we want Nigeria economy to grow if we do not modernize our infrastructure? Because if you do not modernize the infrastructure, you do not you do not reduce the cost of doing business, and if you do not reduce the cost of doing business, you do not make your businesses competitive, and as a result, you continue to be import dependent. So that's what concerns me. And of course, you ask why is Nigerian economy, why our budget almost always the lowest in the world when compared to peer economies. The reason is that our tax receipts are the lowest in the world compared to our GDP ratio. So, but then why are our tax receipts so low compared to our GDP ratio? It's as a result of the type of economy we are running. Our economy is vertically developed, not horizontally grown. If you do not involve a lot of people in economic activity, you cannot tax them because tax is a function of economic growth or a function of high income and things like that. So I think something needs to be done. I'm really concerned, my brothers and sisters, because every year we come up here, we analyze budgets, and we end up not implementing the capital portion. In fact, we have to borrow in order to deal with the recurrent, and everybody sees it. Something needs to be done. And one of the things I have told Nigerians we have to do, whether we like it or not, is that we have to downsize the government. Many countries did it. In 1978, when Deng came into power, he quickly downsized China and they removed a lot of people and then freed the economy from huge recurrent burden to capital expenditure. We must do something. But to do that, what we need to do is to ensure that we allow regions or states to be more powerful than the center, so that the center will just be a policy-making center and a referee where it ensures that the level playing field. Because things are not working and things can work if we continue this way.
Okay. Mr. Chukwu, he said things can work if we continue this way. Looking at the budget for 2017, he said it's just about 25% implementation of capital budgets. How do we go about ensuring that the capital expenditure and the recurrent expenditure, they have a way of balancing up so that no one is suffering?
Okay, well, let me just say a form of housekeeping. In the first place, I'm not the chairman of CARI, I'm the MD of CARI Asset. The second issue is the budget implementation as announced by the president in his budget speech is that the federal government has disbursed 450 billion of the 2.177 trillion 2017 capital expenditure budget. That amounts to about 20.7% of the capital expenditure disbursement as at the end of October 2017. Then how do we achieve, now to your question, how do we achieve some balance? How do we ensure that the capital expenditure budget is implemented in as much as the recurrent expenditure budget is also being implemented? One is that if you look at our budget structure, you realize that the entire capital expenditure budget is funded from borrowing, which makes the capital expenditure a discretionary expenditure on the side of the government. What that means is that the government must meet its revenue profile to be able to meet its recurrent expenditure, because recurrent expenditure is compulsory. You must pay salaries, you must meet the overhead expenditure of the government. So if government fails to meet the recurrent expenditure from its revenue, then you find out that the government is not in a position to implement any portion of the capital expenditure budget. Take, for instance, the 2017 budget. The capital budget deficit was 2.35 trillion, and then the capital expenditure budget was 2.24 trillion, which means the entire capital expenditure budget was going to be funded from borrowing. And should there be revenue shortfall, it becomes impossible to meet the capital expenditure budget. The same thing almost applies in 2018 budget. Capital expenditure projection for 2018 budget is 2.4 trillion. A deficit is 2.005 trillion. So you realize that only an insignificant portion of the capital expenditure budget will be funded from the revenue of the government. Second factor that has constrained capital expenditure implementation is the timing of the budget approval. 2017 budget was signed into law on 12th of June 2017. That is virtually 6 months of the implementation period. And then you have to meet with what they call the Fiscal Responsibility Act. You have to meet with due diligence requirements that will require you to, before you grant any contract, it has to go through several process levels of approval, including them of the 3 bids and all that. So you realize that if the project is a brand new project, it may take another 3 months before it can be approved conclusively for disbursement. So if we do not go back to the earlier approval of the budget, which is what the government is trying to correct, unfortunately I don't think they will meet the January 1st deadline, because the medium-term expenditure framework is just to be debated on Tuesday. Some of the basic assumptions of that budget, 2017 budget, have been are now at the risk of being upturned by the decision of OPEC to cap Nigeria's production at 1.8 million barrels. So you realize that, look, if the budget is not approved on time, if the budget is not funded substantially from government revenue, and government revenue is being spent entirely to make the current expenditure, and government has to rely on borrowing, now it depends on when the borrowing comes. And if the borrowing comes, it has to meet the current expenditure if there is shortfall in revenue.
Okay.
Those factors have to be addressed.